Welcome, once again, to Behind the Screen, a content creation show where I largely discuss how to write content for the community content platforms that Onyx Path Publishing runs, but I will also take this opportunity to sandbox about anything I can particularly think of with regards to the tabletop role-playing scene. So if you do have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to clarify or mention, please do obviously use the opportunity of the Twitch chat to do so. Ideally related to Onyx Path role-playing games, but you know, because that's the channel we're on. But there's some wiggle room, obviously. I'd also like to take this opportunity to wish all of the Americans in the audience a happy Treason Day, or Independence Day, depending on what you want to call it. But because I believe that is today. I obviously have no idea, because I'm British. Right, okay, so a couple of disclaimers before we get started, but this is episode sort of like 71, 72, I think? 71, Season 8, Episode 8 of the show. We are currently covering Pugmire material. Specifically, I'm taking the notes that I typed up for an adventure I ran as an actual play way back when Realms of Pugmire was being kickstarted. The YouTube link is there, so we will be in spoiler territory. I'm trying to keep it as light as possible for people who haven't seen the actual play but might want to as a result of the show. But I will have to talk about some things that come up, regrettably. But I am not an official representative of Onyx Path. Yes, I'm a freelance writer for Onyx Path, but any views and opinions expressed are my own. And this is not official material. This will be going up on Canis Minor, or Canis Minor if you prefer, the community content platform for Pugmire material. I'm simply a grateful fan of the platform. I am disabled. I do experience muscle spasms. So if that happens, I can slur, I can stutter. I mean, I do that anyway, but it can worsen it. Bonjour Alain, ça va? Yeah, so if it becomes too much, particularly if it starts affecting the muscles of my head and neck, I'll remove the webcam so that you all can't, see that, because it's unpleasant to watch, having watched myself go through it via the magic of Twitch. I do also struggle with multiple trains of thought, so I'll try to finish one before going on to the next. If you raise a point in chat, I will acknowledge the point if it is relevant, and then loop back around to it once I've finished what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I will start a sentence and never finish it. So this is for everyone's sanity and peace of mind, not just for the power trip I have as showrunner. I'm a moderator in chat, so also please do behave. That's my one joke. I made good use of it throughout Onyx Path Virtual Con, and I'm going to make good use of it now. Yeah, I guess an apology that the show hasn't been that frequent this year. There's just been a lot of personal stuff going on, and on top of like freelance work, there has been a lot of like quite bad emotional stuff happening and mental issues. The show is still going to continue for as long as I can keep it continuing for the like 2 people who watch this on YouTube, and anyone who watches this on Twitch. Obviously I don't have those analytics. I am going to continue with the show for as long as I can. I would like to hit 100. Obviously with it being a bi-weekly show, 100 won't be until next year at the earliest, but that would be one hell of a streak and an achievement for me to for me to reach that 100 episode mark. Obviously, as usual, I'm going to stick to my established format of discussing the Monday meeting notes for people who don't have time to read, but do stick the show on in the background while they're doing other things, which is a perfectly valid way of enjoying the show, or enduring the show, I should say. Obviously, it's Independence Day, so the Monday meeting notes open with a recognition of the fact that they were written the day before Independence Day. Moving on. If you are a Fantasy Grounds user, the Steam Summer Sale is currently active, and there are Scardlands discounts for Fantasy Grounds. I don't use Fantasy Grounds myself. I know anecdotally from other people that it's quite a good virtual tabletop if you have the time and money to invest in it. So there you go. If you want to bring Scardlands to your preferred virtual tabletop, go for it. I don't have a link for it, unfortunately. But the World Below, which is Onyx Path's kind of like dark fantasy Hollow Knight style game, There is an Ashcan version. It's $4.99 on DriveThruRPG right now. And it is a brief look at the full rules that will be coming when the book is ready. I believe it'll be kickstarted, as most of Onyx Path's kind of like core game line books are. But the Ashcan is available. It gives you a selection of a taster of what's coming. Oh, Alan, you can't post links. If you want to whisper me on Twitch, that should give you the link. Or if you know what, I've got you. I'll do it. It's fine. I can talk while searching for this. So yes, the Ashcans give you a simplified basic rule set, and that's what this one does. It was apparently number one in the under $5 category for most of last week, so that's pretty cool. You type in the word below on DriveThruRPG, and it is not the first result. That is interesting. Oh, I put the word below, that's why. Sorry, you didn't know? No, it's fine. It's a pretty standard moderating thing to stop random people just joining a channel and then spamming, I don't know, links they shouldn't be spamming. There it is. Basic gist, however, something happened. Everyone lives underground. Does deal with themes of colonialism from my reading of the Ashcan, and taking other people's land, but it's also like usual Onyx Path themes really of power comes at a cost, and everyone's out for what they can get for themselves, etc., etc. But you have to work together to survive. So if that is your preferred style of fantasy and game, go for it. The Ashcan is available. It is cheap. If you have $4.99, obviously $4.99 specifically, and there is a physical print-on-demand version in the works, or option in the works. Sorry. So if you're holding, if you prefer physical, hold off. Hold off on that. Obviously, when any material is released, particularly material that contains narrative, as well as a limited mechanic set, there are going to be questions about that. And Matthew Dawkins did write a blog post addressing some questions people had about the Ashcan. Nope, that's the wrong link. Why did that? What is going on with my computer clipboard? Copy. Why did it post the? Okay, I swear I'm trying to copy the link for the Monday meeting notes. For the blog post, but it's not working. There we go. Those are the questions answered about the word below, if you are interested in the setting and what is contained in the Ashcan. Speaking of the Ashcan, and my face, post for effect, this Thursday, July the 6th at, I want to say 3 p.m? This I can easily check. I'll check while I'm talking. There will be an actual play of Your Computer Really Wants to Promote Scarred Lands on Fantasy Grounds, apparently. Apparently it does, Zach. Apparently it really does. Because I thought maybe the link was broken in the blog post, but no, it takes you to the right place. Yes, the Ashcan, actual play. There is an actual play this Thursday, July the 6th, 2023, don't you know? At 3 p.m. Eastern, using the Ashcan material. I don't know if it's going to be using the adventure in the Ashcan. If you've already, if you didn't know, during Onyx Path Virtual Con, the Ashcan adventure was run live on the channel, on a channel, I should say, to kind of promote the Ashcan. So I don't know if that adventure will be on the channel again, different players, obviously, but it'll give you a taste of how the Ashcan plays and the material included in it. There will be. If you do if you are interested in such things and you have a player group with larger than yourself and 4 players, you'll have to double up on characters because there are only 4 provided characters in the Ashcan and no character creation rules, unfortunately. But there we go. And then if you wish to... Hang on, right. So I've highlighted a link. Laptop, work with me now. I'd like to post the right link. Okay. Moving on, if you want to get in on the latest Trinity Continuum book, Aegis, which is kind of classical Greco-Roman shenanigans, you can pre-order and back a kit now. Looks pretty cool. Check it out if you have any interest in Trinity Continuum game line, or Aegis, or just cool role-playing games in general. And then we've got Rich talking about how he's jotting down art ideas for the world below. This week's Pathcast is talking about Exalted Essence and a review of Onyx Path Virtual Con, which is, I believe, available mostly, or is in its entirety on YouTube now, or various other places. And then, breakdown of the channel this week. Obviously, I do let this is the pre-roll material, and then let it run in post-roll. But, however, on the channel this week, right now, obviously, all of these times are in Eastern Daylight. Right now, you got me for another hour and 40 minutes at the most, and then I swear I'll leave you alone for another 2 weeks. Maybe more. We'll see how my brain goes and how life conspires to work against me. Wednesday, 9 p.m, Scion Origin, A Night at the Club. Thursday, 3 p.m, I mentioned World Below Ashcan with myself and a couple of friends. Saturday, 9 p.m, Changeling the Lost, Viva Lost Vegas. Also, to rewind, I'm playing in that. I'm finally having a break from being a forever GM, and it's amazing. Saturday, 9 p.m, Changeling the Lost, Viva Lost Vegas. Sunday, 3 p.m, Scion Godsend Season Premiere. Heck yes. And Monday, 5 p.m, Scion Demigod, The Beginner's Guide. Which, if you haven't been following the Awkward GM's Beginner's Guide series, it's pretty good. It's exactly what it sounds like. And then, media highlights of the week continues. The last time I did this show, it was a Steranimous episode on Scion, and this time it is also an episode on Scion, the musical episode. There's a link to Onyx Path news, virtual tabletop stuff. It's largely unchanged. On sale this week is Exalted Surface Truths, a dragon-blooded novella from Lauren Roy, on Drive-Thru RPG on Wednesday, as is usual. Games Night with Onyx Path Publishing this month is celebrating Trinity Continuum in celebration of the upcoming Aegis crowdfunding campaign. So the link I posted earlier for Aegis was for the crowdfunding side of it. My brain is all over the place. I apologise for misleading you, but it will take you to the campaign landing page over on Backer Kit. I saw Backer Kit and I was like, pre-orders. It's not pre-orders. It's building hype for the crowdfunding campaign. As usual, the project timelines are summarised in a roundup at the end of every month, and June's roundup is there. I obviously do this only the first time it's relevant, but it gives you a list of everything that was released this month, all of the community content that was released this month, which, if you are interested in Scarred Lands and you haven't encountered any of Alan's work, the man is a machine, and the work he put out is very good, and also takes up like half of the community content released last month for Onyx Path game lines. Also, he added the Guru to Pugmire, which is fantastic, and a Guru may eat you now in your wholesome dog D&D game. So that's just fantastic. Anyway, production status. I forgot to check this earlier, so I need to just check where work I'm involved in is. It's still in editing. Gosh dang it. I want it to come out so bad so I can promote it. However, it looks like the other books he went into editing with are now in post-editing development, so there's that, at least. Okay, cool. Going to close that for now. Okay, so we have development status updates across the board. We've got a tasty bit for Sound Dragon Library in red lines. In development, we've got They Came From Heroes of Action and Wonder, which was like the big bombastic 80s fantasy supplement for Cyclops' Cave. We've also got a tasty bit for They Came From Classified Hotel Lobby. And we've got Sound God's Jumpstart. Manuscript approval. They came from the Cyclops' Cave. They came from Witchford Academy. This is of particular interest to me because I'm a contributing writer to that book, and it was a whole lot of fun to work on. And I hope that it speeds through the process and comes out before They Came From the Cyclops' Cave. So you have the book but can't do anything with it because it's just that good. Post-editing development, another Exalted novella, What Lies Forgotten. Art direction, Exalted 3rd edition, 8 directions. They came from Cyclops' Cave and Classified. as well as Trinity Continuum Ages of Kickstarter stuff and Trinity Continuum Adventure Addendum. In layout, M20 Lore of Traditions, Legacies of Earth, Exalted Essence Novella, Silent Once and Future. In proofing, Exalted 3rd Edition Crucible of Legends is actually double bolded, so you know it's important. I don't know how that happened. Trinity Continuum Assassins VTT Adventure. Nothing is currently at indexing, or nothing is moved into indexing, I should say. And then at press, we have Trinity Continuum Adventure, Anima, Adventure Story Guide Screen and Booklet, Exalted Essence, Werewolf 20 Apocalyptic Record, Book and Screen and Booklet, Hunt of the Vigil Tending the Flame, Werewolf 20 House of the Apocalypse, Mage of the Awakening, Term of the Pentacle, Below Ashcan, Advanced PDF Errata, and Exalted 3rd Edition Surface Truth, I mentioned, is releasing this Wednesday. And today's reason to celebrate was the destruction, was the beginning of the end for the Confederate Army. And, slavery in the United States, etc., etc., etc. Here endeth the Monday meeting notes. That's the show. I'm heading off now. No, that's a lie. I am going to try. So I mentioned that this has been a terrible year for me, mentally, emotionally. I am gonna try to run the show on as long as I can. But if it ends up being short, I apologize. I just need that time to to rest and recover. However, so far in the show. Did I make changes to this document? I did. So far in the show, I've talked about the actual play. I'm not going to cover that again. And a couple of things. But really, all I've done is I explained why I have such a large cast list. And then I explained my prologue and what I wanted to do with it and what I felt went right with it, what I felt went poorly with it. Same with the first scene. An important meeting, and about how there were 2 different ways it could have gone. Basically, what I'm doing with this is I'm going to follow the course that my players took through the actual play. So rather than doing scene 1B, meeting the Foxhounds, as you can see, I'm going to go straight on to where the players went next after they met with the Transylvanian Hounds. Also, ignore this comma. Turns out Joyeuse doesn't have a hyphen. It just gives you a comma for some reason. So that's why there's a comma there. It will be hyphenated in the original thing. This was just because Pugmire uses Joyeuse, which is the font choice. I just used it in my notes to make myself feel good. It's also just a really nice font to look at, in my opinion. Obviously, yours might vary. So it has obviously been a while since I did this, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to get back into it. I did want to address something, actually. So I talked a bit last time about how I approach difficulty class, DC if you prefer, or difficulty depending on the game, and how I wasn't going to I was just dropping by a moment to cheer and make noise. Hey, thanks Ghost of Cinders. Don't worry, I've already pushed. They came from Witchford Academy to this not captive audience. Imagine if they were captive. Congratulations again on getting that through development so quickly. Yes, so I have talked about how I try to avoid how I was trying to avoid difficulty, because this is less an adventure and more this is both an adventure and a commentary on the adventure as it happened, as it worked out in the end. So I did want it to be very much my notes, but I do want to include something about how I handle difficulty, and this is like the perfect scene to do it because it does involve some dice rolls. So I guess that would go in. Yeah, I guess it would go in difficulty. Often, unless I have any other reason. Again, so for people who are new here, I guess, the material is just something for me to do while not answering questions from chat. So please do feel free to comment, ask questions, etc. As I mentioned at the top of the episode. Otherwise, you just get me talking about what I'm typing. I will try to explain why I'm talking about what I'm talking about, and it does run on long. Anyone who is interested in writing community content, it's not the quickest thing in the world to write, particularly if you want to get it right. But this whole process, this show, is artificially extended by me talking about things and then talking aloud. However, I mentioned it before and I'll say it, definitely say it again, talking out loud is a fantastic way to think things through. I do it a lot all the time when I'm writing both freelance material and community content material, or just for my own adventures, for use with my home games. Often, unless I have any other reason to raise... that was almost an unfortunate typo. The difficulty, I'll check. I will use the provided... something's going wrong with OBS. I don't know why. I will use a default value of 10. Oh, I know what's going on. I didn't turn my VPN off, and I'm streaming through a VPN. That's probably not going to help matters. Also, it's just an old computer. I will use a default value of 10. In this scene, because I knew the characters had tricks and proficiencies that would help with the notice skill. See, also, so anyone who tuned in during Onyx Path Virtual Con, I was on the Realms of Pugmire panel. I am contributing material to an upcoming Realms of Pugmire book. Having to write in first edition after writing the material for second edition, it's kind of tricky. I'm also working a lot on other work in the... I'm just going to call it the OGL sphere, because I don't want to say too much, because it's not Onyx Path work. And everyone everywhere has a different way of doing things, and doing it in the Pugmire way after doing it in the non-Pugmire way for the past like 3 weeks is a little tricky, I will admit. I may stumble, I may falter. Please feel free to correct me. My brain is stuck in OGL mode. But it's a slightly different OGL mode to that needed for Pugmire. I would say if you are interested in writing community content, but not in freelancing, like if you're just doing it as a hobby, definitely pick a project in a game line you know and write that to completion. Otherwise, you'll have the problem I'm having, where it's like, hey, what words do I use? What's the correct verbiage? But bear with me, we'll get through it. This is only every 2 weeks anyway, so it's not like I won't do it next time. It's hopefully adorable. That's all I've got going for me at this point. To help with the notice skill, I raised the difficulty to 13. Default over 10, which means that most characters will succeed 50% of the time. And it seemed because I knew the characters had tricks and proficiencies that would help with the notice skill, I raised the difficulty of 13. Keep that average the same, but reward the players for rolling higher. This is something I won't really go into, but this is something I definitely do kind of a fair amount in my home games. Less so in actual plays. This was the first time I've done it on this channel, for example. And particularly, certainly, well, I should clarify. In games with mostly OGL-based stuff, or spiritual successors thereof. Obviously, in story path games where there are fixed difficulties of you need 1, 2, or 3 hits, trying to use that story path ultra lingo. And yes, I should have mentioned that. If you are a fan of Scion, Trinity Continuum, and other games they came from, I guess, the Story Path Ultra system has a brochure available now. It was released to the public digitally during Onyx Path Virtual Con, and some terminology changes. Some of it I like, some of it, I don't, but it's not for me to say what's wrong or that it's inherently better or worse. It's just the way my brain works, prefers some terminology over others, and that's fine. But particularly in things, mostly in OGL games, because a lot of the time there is a discussion to be had another time about public versus private difficulty, or DC, or whatever you want to call it. Unless it's for an extremely important check, I will generally keep it private because it allows me to do things like this. It allows me to give two characters different DCs for the same task. And it's all about, and this is my personal philosophy of just empowering my players. You may disagree, that's totally fine. You might want to say there is one difficulty for all, but having sliding difficulties, I don't like making my players feel like they have to build characters in a certain way, particularly this AP when you good there, OBS? Because I'd really rather not have to restart the stream. It is a faff for Onyx Path to deal with. Okay, calm down. Where I only had 3 players, and 2 of them were playing... so we used the template creation method for random characters, and ended up with 2 of them having very similar skill proficiencies, and playing... can't remember the name of the upbringing. Anyway, they had boons, fortune, advantage. There we go. They had advantage on perception checks related to... I think it's just blanket advantage, actually, in the rules we were using. Anyway, basically, they had advantage. But they had advantage in the same thing. So, obviously, there was some skills that weren't going to come up. And yes, this is why I said notice or search could be used in the commentary. You can see it right there on the screen. That's one way of tailoring it to the party, but also, as I say, the sliding DCs, sliding difficulties. If you keep it roughly to the same average DC, but give 2 different ones. Sorry, that was awfully phrased. So, rephrase. Sorry, again, my brain, I'm all over the place mentally. I'm desperately trying to focus for this. If OBS could behave, that would also be great. Obviously, you can't see anything misbehaving, but it's there, trust me. So, if you have the sliding DC, obviously, if the person who has the proficiencies or advantage or whatever you want to call it, and hits the lower value, they succeed, obviously. I'm not going to take that away from them if they don't hit the value I'd mentally assign to them. But I just like my players to feel like they can succeed. Obviously, if it's a thing that their character would have no way to succeed at, I'm going to say no to them. I'm not going to allow... I'm going to explain why they wouldn't know the knowledge or be able to find the clue or whatever. I'm not just going to say no outright. I explain my reasoning. But if it's something that they're on particularly high stakes for, that I think they would have an average chance of succeeding at, sure, I'll give them a lower DC than someone else attempting the same role. It's all about making my players feel good and making them feel empowered. And there is definitely something to be said in the brain about, I rolled extremely high, that makes my brain feel good. Versus, I rolled averagely, woo. And this is just to offset that. Obviously, there's countless superstitions and conversations that can be had around so-called dice luck and personal luck, air quotes, and people who just seem to roll low more than they roll high, and all of that stuff that really isn't actually a thing unless your dice genuinely are unfair. But I firmly believe that it is, at the end of the day, we're there around the table, virtual or not, to have fun. And if I can make you feel like you're contributing by making something slightly easier for your character because they aren't necessarily trained in that skill, I absolutely will. It will make you feel good, and then it will make me feel good because you're having a good time. Obviously, as I said, some people may disagree with that, and they want it to be fair. This is the only fudging I do. I don't fudge defense. I remembered that time. Or AC, if you prefer. I don't fudge attack rolls. I do all of my rolling in the open as much as possible. Even when I'm running actual plays and things, if we are using a virtual tabletop, I will fully allow my players to use personal dice, but I will roll on the virtual tabletop that I can point them to if I need to as evidence of my rolls. I don't like rolling in private. I don't generally use a GM screen personally. So the only fudging I do is just what I think will make a player feel better about their contribution to the game in a low stakes situation. When it's high stakes, no, usually, and there are exceptions obviously, but when it's high stakes, I'll keep it the same. Everyone will have the same difficulty that they're aiming for, and the dice fall where they may. I keep saying difficulty. I'm really hoping that's the terminology Pugmire 1e uses. Anyway, so that's just a little bit of insight into why I do it. Yes, the difficulty of the task. Obviously, as I say, people may disagree, and I really would be interested to learn... Sorry, I got an itchy eye. I really would be interested to learn what you all think of that idea of having the variable difficulty for different player characters to help them feel better about maybe not having the right skill, like the exact skill for the right situation. And obviously, as I've mentioned with the notice or search thing, there are a couple of ways you can also treat it if they have a skill that's slightly adjacent. In this instance, they find the information in a different order. They could easily have just found different information. I would probably keep that to if one there's more than one character performing the check, because they are just more likely to find different information than each other. Or two, if it's related but not the ideal skill, just make it slightly harder to succeed. Raise that difficulty. Bearing in mind average success rates and things of each difficulty and the capabilities of your player characters. Because, again, we're just all there to have fun and tell a cool story, and there's nothing that gets in the way of that as much as just the GM saying no, or guide, if you prefer Pugmire terminology. Just saying, no, you flat out can't do that. You have to have this skill, otherwise you're just going to roll and hope for the best. But again, personal preference. I'm not that kind of GM, guide, storyteller, DM, whatever you want to call it. Keeper, once in a while. Anyway, so raise the difficulty to 13 to keep that average the same, but reward the players for rolling higher. If the character without these, I'm just going to say bonuses as a catch-all, had attempted the roll, I would have assigned difficulty of 10 to his roll, but he would have been limited in the information he could uncover, he could discover. And again, this is just another way of tweaking it. Like, sure, it's slightly easier for him, but he's also going to find less because he's just not as well trained in it. There we go. I said my bit. Again, if you have thoughts, comments, criticisms, please let me know in the Twitch chat right now as I'm streaming live, or in the YouTube video comment section below. Or reach out to me on Twitter. It's @ComradeBubbles. One of these days, I will actually like clip these questions and post them for people to talk about. But not this day. Not this day. Also, please ignore any clumsy phrasing, typos, grammatical errors, that kind of thing. This is all first draft material. I do go through this quite carefully off stream before I publish it, just because professionalism, really. So that's what I wanted to talk about there with the difficulty of checks. I may, during the editing process, assign a difficulty to the investigation, to the clues and things, but I've mentioned it in the commentary, so it should logically follow. Okay, I'm going to hydrate again, and then we're going to move on. You know, I'll 10 or 13 as discussed in the commentary section. There we go. If you are working in Word and you want to use an N dash, I don't want to go through the insert symbol process. If you just type 1 space A, no, sorry. I can't remember how to do it. It's one of those muscle memory things. Yeah, if you click where you want it to be, put just a hyphen in, space A, and then space. It will auto correct to the right dash. It's very useful. It means you don't have to keep it in your clipboard, and you don't have to remember keyboard shortcuts or anything. Just trying to make that process as smooth and as easy as possible. Well, this does mean that players can build their character any way they want. Any way they want to. Also means that no, I'm gonna get rid of this and just restart the sentence again. Let's go with, however, I do limit information available to characters without the correct training. In this scene, character using a difficulty of 10. Limited to the first 2 clues only. Because, you know, they're just the easiest things to spot. Okay, so that was that. They investigated the crime scene using notice. Discovered the short white fur coat on the glass. Curiously twisted paw print. And the low point of entry, the back of the building. Just because rolled really high. And then decided to investigate around that point of entry, and found a and because obviously with an adventure you can't really prepare for everything player characters might do, so that wasn't included in my notes. You'll notice there's nothing there. I think I handled it. Yes, here we go. Because they did something I hadn't expected. I improvised on the fly to point them in the direction of the way that they, needed to go. Obviously, adventure design is entirely subjective, and there's a whole conversation to be had about sandbox gameplay, railroading players, etc., etc., etc. When it comes to actual plays and writing adventures specifically as pre-written material for other people to use, I will generally err towards more of a freeform air quote railroad, where there are definite beats they'll be hitting, but it's up to them how they reach them. So in this instance, because I knew it was an actual play, I had a very fixed time length to play it, which was the duration of the Kickstarter campaign, because the player was busy after that. I obviously had to keep them on the right track somehow, and that was the easiest way to do that was to know where they were going to eventually end up and figure out how they could get there based on where they are. Obviously, if I were writing this as an adventure for my own personal use, for my home games, where time isn't really an issue, we aren't constricted to a set window to play in, I would have played a bit more loosely with this. I would have probably given them more time to investigate. As it was, the players in the actual play had a day and a half in game to investigate. If I were doing this off stream just for a home game, I would. And I'll likely talk about this in the introduction when I get around to writing that, but I would give them time to follow up on both the plot hooks. I would give them time to follow up on the missing relic, and I would give them time to meet some of the nobles. I would maybe add an additional day into the mix and say it takes like a quarter of a day to meet with a noble, so that they could meet not all of the cast necessarily, although they could if they wanted to. But they could get more of a feel for Houndton and the world of the game that the game is set in. But because I couldn't do that, we just didn't have the time. I was very much working from a place of, this is where you are now. This is the plot hook you've decided to investigate. This is where I need you to get to, because that's where the next kind of big reveal is. How do you get there from where you are? And this is how. I just gave them something with a scent trail. Because they're dogs, don't you know? And it turns out dogs have a very good sense of smell. I'm going to hydrate and check my email, because I am kind of waiting on some emails. Okay. Important email to get, but not the one I was looking for. Please, Gmail, close. Oh, what are you doing, phone? This is apparently just a bad technology day. Okay, so we've got scene 1 out of the way, and then all of these are scenes. Well, I've got scene 1A out of the way. As I said, I'm going through the route that my players took in the actual play, and then I'll go back and because these scenes weren't used, I can't really provide as much in-depth commentary for them. But I can provide some commentary about the purpose of the scene and the way, what I would have used it for in game. But scene 2, the spoil. I believe our commentary is in bold and all caps. Yes. That's not bolded, that is. Purpose of the scene is to hint that at what is going on through anecdotal stories and environmental storytelling. It should direct the PCs no, direct is the wrong word. It should call PC's attention to the network of tunnels running beneath the spoil. throw doubt onto any suspicions they may be forming. Okay, I actually do need to check something in the Pugmire core rulebook. Please bear with me 1 second. I think there was some limited rodents. Oh, the Call to a Laboratory is in the Oni rulebook. Fantastic. I was panicking for a moment there because for those who don't know, the AP very much dealt with the Cult of Labotor. And I was like, is this... I couldn't remember off the top of my head if they were in first edition, because obviously it was for second edition. It was to promote the Realms of Pugmire Kickstarter, so I took all the material from the rulebook. But no, the cult is in... the Pugmire core rulebook. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I was tired last time as well. I apologize. I'm going to apologize for apologizing as well, because that's just how I do. Hopefully it's still vaguely thought-provoking. And this does, however, lead me to a point that I can't stress enough. But if you are going to be writing any kind of community content, please check what is and is not allowed. Onyx Path is really good at keeping a relatively up-to-date list of the books that you're allowed to draw material from for their community content platforms. Obviously, if you're working in a non-Onyx Path game line that has some kind of OGL or ORC or equivalent or Creative Commons, make sure what is covered by that license or agreement or whatever else is being used. With the Onyx Path platforms, Storytion Vault, Storypath Nexus, Cadence Miner, and Storyteller Vault, although Storyteller Vault's kind of Paradox as well, I guess, they do get checked, and if it does contain material that isn't allowed, it will be pulled from sale. I know this not because I've included material that wasn't allowed, but because I uploaded something that could potentially muddy the waters with an official resource that was in the works, and I completely understand why it was pulled. I'm not like I don't hold a grudge or anything. It made perfect sense why it was pulled. It was just I was trying to provide a resource that wasn't available when I put it up, but a resource was being made available, and it's fine. But obviously they are checked, so I don't. Certainly for me, writing material is kind of a big deal. There's a lot of I put a lot of myself into my work, which I probably shouldn't, but I do, and having that, no, you can't sell it, could definitely be taken as this work is awful, and kind of make you not want to update it again because you missed something, or you're just so stressed about write again, or you're so stressed about material that's included being correct or incorrect that you just give up on the whole thing. Personally, I find community content writing extremely rewarding from a non-financial point of view. I mean, financial stuff is nice, obviously, but just knowing that people are out there using material I've written really it makes me feel good. I'm definitely in this hobby to help people tell cool stories, and I only write what I think are cool stories or great material, useful material, advice, etc. Which does bring me to a point. If you have played, if you have used any of my community content material, at this point, I believe it's an introductory adventure for Scion, a Pantheon for Scion, an introductory adventure for Chronicles of Darkness Mortals, and then the last season of the show. People of the Snow for Storytion for Scarred Lands, which added a whole bunch of Fenrilic material, and then the last season of the show was Trinity Continuum, adding some horror themed tools into the Trinity Continuum toolbox. If you have used any of those, please do leave a rating. Just click how many stars you think it's worth. You don't have to leave a review. Obviously, I do like it if you leave a review. I haven't checked my reviews for a while, actually, my ratings, but hopefully they were positive. But it just helps out smaller writers. I mean, it helps anyone out on drive-through, but obviously if it's community content, we kind of live and die by word of mouth and ratings and things. So please do leave a rating and a review or a review if you can. Anyway, back to this. Cult of Laboratory are fine to use because they're in the core rulebook. That needs a space. There we go. About the involvement of other dog families. How overt you are about the rats, no, perpetrators of the crime being rats and members of the Cult of Laboratory, and then sure, why not? I'll give a page reference. Pugmire, page 184. Is entirely up to you. I foreshadowed that's Terry. That's a great character name, but their involvement with a strange musty smell as the scent trail species followed to reach this point. On that only strengthened as they entered the small rat-sized tunnels. I'm just going to put small tunnels. Let's put narrow tunnels. Let's even change this to low. There we go. Low narrow tunnels. Rat-sized without saying rat-sized. But you could I then allowed the characters to see if they could place the smell. I allowed the characters to roll to see if they could place the smell whenever they encountered it for the first time. So the difficulty. I'm just going to keep capitalizing difficulty because it's a game term and it just makes the most sense in my head to do that. I will go through Pugmire wanting material and check to see whether it should be capitalized or not when I do release this, although I might still keep the capitalization just as a, hey, this is a specific game term. For the weaker smell. You are more than welcome to either tell the characters that it is likely that scent comes from... Again, this is all clunky wording because I'm quite tired. It'll be better in the final version, I promise. I'll do it on the day. That the scent comes from rodents. Without asking for a roll, or tell them it is unfamiliar. Keep the information for a more dramatic reveal later. Oh gosh, I'll be honest, chat, I can't remember what I called the tavern keeper in the smelting pot. That is on me. However, the YouTube video does exist, so off stream I'll rewatch the YouTube video and add the landlady's name, unless anyone knows off the top of their head. Okay, so we've got location points of interest. Need to. Yep, that's fine. So, as a scene outline, well, let's go with this. I used the following as a scene outline. The PCs end up at the spoil where the following where they're following a scent trail. Investigating the missing animals, or just passing through on the way to an inn or a meeting with another noble. And feel a slight earthquake as the subsidence. There we go. Subsidence. Oh my gosh, I'm not in a good place right now. As the subsidence mentioned, the clue section occurs. Should the PCs investigate, they find a communal rescue effort underway to salvage what can be saved from the ruins of 3 houses along Spoil Row. House has completely caved in. Houses on either side are leaning precariously over the ruin. I should say, should the PCs investigate immediately? Sorry, I'm just thinking things through. So that they investigated after the fact, which I'll obviously account for in a moment, by saying what they find if they investigate afterwards. PCs on scene, they make a wisdom saving throw. To notice a small hole corner of a collapsed room that seems to lead underground. a character would have advantage, or would have an advantage, sorry, using the right terminology, would have an advantage on notice checks. Well, I guess wisdom notice. DC for this saving throw is 10. Otherwise, it is 13. If no character succeeds, an NPC pushes past them, you recover something from the ruin and falls into the hole. Yelling loudly about we'll just leave it as falls into the hole. If the PCs investigate later, they discover a handful of guards patrolling Sporo to prevent more casualties. You know what? And to treat the injuries of those trapped in the houses. Guards won't let them approach, but will not become hostile unless threatened. Sorry about the typing noise. I tried to find the quietest keyboard I could. I apologize for this a lot. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway. So that's what happens if they investigate later. Hole is small enough for all but the most heavily armored or largest breed, isn't it? I'm pretty sure first edition uses the word breed. When this comes, when Realms of Pugmire comes out, I'm just going to update this for breed. You know, I'll just simplify. So less updating that has to be done. Most heavily armored or largest dogs to enter without difficulty. Any PC, any character. Forcing their way into the hole. To their size. Must pass a difficulty, I think it was 10, because it was kind of like it was easy enough. Let's pass a difficulty 10. Sorry, my brain has gone completely blank. Acrobatics is a thing, right? Anyone know? I just have no words. I feel like this is not the best stream I've ever done, and I do apologize for that. Oh, balance. guess traverse makes the most sense. I can't remember what I called for in the actual play. I think it was actually traverse. But I think I called for dexterity or constitution. Or get stuck. If they botch this roll, if they roll a botch, sorry. The tunnel collapses. They fall into it, but everyone near the hole takes 1d8. I guess bludgeoning makes the most sense. Yeah, bludgeoning seems to make the most sense. Including the character trying to get in. Oops. Nope. Navigation. How do I? OBS, I swear to man. Takes 1d8 bludgeoning damage. Depending on time constraints. Party composition. Tunnels, which are low and narrow. Which are low, narrow, and force larger dogs to use their to crawl. That's it. Could play host to a number of traps. The ones I used are included. Here for reference. Although you should make your own. Or you should feel free to make your own. And then I guess we'll. I don't use bold. I guess I could indent it and do some listy things. You know what? Let's have a trapped box, shall we? I'm gonna do this. I'll get fancy. Why not? Tripwire requires a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw. To notice any character moving through it takes 2d6 bludgeoning damage as a block falls from the ceiling. Characters immediately behind them can make a succeed at DC 15 dexterity saving throw, or take the same damage. The block almost fills the tunnel and must be pushed ahead of anyone behind it. Or less the ones I devised, I'd say. Necessarily use. Because, you know, my players found them, so didn't get to use them. Oh, admittedly, it was only the tripwire, I think. Still. Traps. Everyone likes a good trap. Requires DC 10 Wisdom save throw notice. Any character that fails. Falls into the shallow pit. Let's go with 2d10 damage, why not? It's easy to notice, so you can raise the damage slightly. Piercing damage from the spikes lining with it. This pit is narrow enough for all but the smallest dogs to step over. Small dogs will need to make a... I'm going to say succeed at a... DC 11 dexterity balance. Or Constitution traverse. Check to jump across without falling in. And then if I had time, I'd also have a gas trap that so these traps obviously I didn't write down because I wasn't sure where that adventure was going to take the players, and then you know, because I also had the time constraint of, again, fixed time slot on the channel, and it had to be done by a certain endpoint. I didn't really do any traps really. I did the tripwire. I had, and I'll probably throw this, mention this in the scene outline here. Which I might reword this to something better. They were also dealing with the fact that the large dog could potentially break the support column, the support struts holding the tunnel up, because it's just so big and heavily armored. Gas trap. This narrow wire. This poorly covered pit. This fake rock requires a DC. Let's just keep it as a DC 15 wisdom saving throw. Notice any character stepping on it. Must attempt a DC 13 Constitution saving throw. Character takes 36 poison damage on a failed save. Half as much damage on a successful one. Oh, right. probably include damage values. So average on 2d6 is 7. Nope, that's not where that bracket should go. There we go. Average on 2d10 is 9. Average on 3d6 is about 10, more or less. And because this is an adventure for... actually, this is an adventure for first level characters. Let's lower that, shall we? That's a lot of damage. Make it 1d12. We'll just make these 1d whatever. 1d10 takes it down to 4 or 5. We'll put it as 5. I'm happy to keep that as it is. Like, it's a big rock. It's going to deal a whole bunch of damage. Okay, and then end of box. Just so that I know it's a box. I know usually I use like a double asterisk, but I want to get into the habit of using proper notation for myself, so that when I come across it in project, I remember what it looks like. I also included the danger of a tunnel collapse. Nope, you know what? Larger armored dogs may also bring the tunnel down by, I guess, brushing up against hastily erected supports, pushing them out of place. Treat this as a tripwire trap. If you want to include it, it's danger. It's kind of related. You could take the semicolon from my cold dead hands. Save the document, because you should save regularly when doing any kind of written work. And then eventually characters will reach a large central chamber. That they can deduce is roughly in the middle of the spoil. Middle of the heap of loose rocks the spoil is built upon. A handful of... You know what? Let's do some read aloud text. You can see 4 tunnels from the entrance you stand in. Three stretch into unlit darkness, while the 4th is illuminated. by candles. A small altar sits in the center of the room. Coat hanging from an oddly circular hook. And 3 cages are suspended behind it. Suspended from the ceiling behind it. The rank odor draws your attention to one side of this irregularly shaped room. There you see a small alchemical workshop. A giant rat. A giant rat sleeps pile of dirty hay, dirty straw, chain attaching it to the wall, tinkling slightly as it moves. And hydrate. And again, I'll provide a page reference if I can. Nope. Giant rat uses the canine stat block found on page. Seven, 9 of. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's just do this again. And it wakes if the characters touch it or make a noise louder than a quiet conversation. It takes its one turn to break free of the rusty chain, holding it to the wall. The cages hold the missing characters listed in the minor character section. Only Harriet is awake. All of them bear marks of all of them are wounded, let's say. Harriet will only babbles loudly about a rat with a flask of burning chemicals. I say burning liquid. The 3 dark tunnels lead to other places in the spoil, and which have an exit characters can use as the rats that built them collapse the way out. The illuminated tunnel, after a series of dead ends, decorated with white coats hanging from the walls, leads into scene 4. The showdown. And save. And I think that seems a decent enough place to end. Obviously, I've gone on a length today about some things that people might not agree with, and it's totally fine. Obviously, I'm not an official representative of Onyx Path. All the views and opinions expressed are my own, so don't think that Onyx Path are going soft and introducing sliding difficulties and things of that nature. That's just what I do at my table. What you do at your table, obviously, as long as everyone is having fun, is entirely up to you. But I've also just tried to elaborate on my notes and things of that nature. So just to, I guess, elaborate on that as well. So when I am writing adventure notes, this is pretty much what I do. Just if I need to. A lot of the time I don't. If I do need to do the prep, I do the prep to produce the best thing I can. So largely it is basically, where is the scene set? What is the key information that the players will take away from the scene? All that the GM needs to know to run the scene. And then anything else. So for example, with these, obviously location is scene setting. The information is largely GM focused here, but then the takeaway information is the hook. And you can call it whatever you want. I just called it hook because it was important to separate that in my brain for just, this is important information for the scene, and then this is information that can be used to spur the players on in the future. Side note, of course, anyone who did tune in to the Realms, I believe there were 2 actually, but the Realms of Pugmire actual play that I was in at the virtual con, obviously it was also set in Hampton, and Eddie had it. It's a very different Hampton, although we both did involve the Transylvanian Hounds. Haha, funny name. What is this? It says right here, there's a GM Tips content creation stream where I write community content on stream and just talk about how I go about handling writing content for a variety of role-playing games. In this instance, specifically, this season of the show is focused on first edition Pugmire, and the information. And the thing I'm handling right now is I'm upgrading the notes I wrote for an actual play that I ran on this channel. It's like, hey, here's the notes that I use to. This is how I write notes for actual plays or tabletop sessions, and then this is how I go about adapting them for other people to use, and general just advice about things. The purpose of the show is not this is how you must write or this is how you must run games. It's very much trying to show a way that may not have occurred to you before, and to offer a different way of looking at it. I don't profess to have all the answers. I don't profess to be an expert. I just like telling cool stories, and helping people if I can. And that's why people are totally welcome to ask questions and let me know what they think. I'll try not to take it too hard. If you disagree completely with my thoughts and opinions. Gonna hydrate. But I'm happy with the progress we've made so far. I guess I should explain the trap situation. If you don't know about Pugmire, yes, it uses the OGL, but rather than having a passive wisdom perception, it's handled as a wisdom saving throw. So there's no number on the sheet that's like, hey, any character with a passive perception of this score or higher sees the trap. No, every character gets to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they succeed, they notice the trap. It's a pretty cool way of doing it. It's kind of the same idea, it's just adding an extra step. And I have feelings about passive perception and passive scores in general. I very much do like the way that Eddie and the rest of the Pugmire team handled the situation. I do feel like asking the players for a saving throw gives them more agency. It makes them more involved, and kind of raises the stakes, because if you're just narrating a scene and there's, in like 5e, 5th edition, none of the players have a passive perception high enough to see what the trap is or whatever it is, then there's this kind of no stakes. Whereas if they all roll and they roll poorly and no one notices it, then the stakes kick in and the players are like, well, there's obviously something here. And obviously, like, good players will avoid metagaming by then looking for the thing. But it just puts the players on edge, puts them a little bit on tenterhooks, and raises the stakes slightly. So that's what the wisdom saving throw is all about, if people are watching this and have no idea about Pugmire. First edition is an OGL-based game, so it does retain some of the language that you may be used to from 5th edition, but also does different things with it, and it's very much its own thing, which is pretty cool. Yes. I also covered the importance of including material that is allowed within the terms of the whatever you're using to write the material with the community content platforms. Largely, there is a list of sources that you can draw from and include material from. But if you're using something else, obviously it's worth checking the limitations of that license or agreement. I think that was largely what we've discussed, as I just kept writing and updating my notes. I think that's it. If there's anyone in the chat that can remember anything else I touched on, please feel free to do so. But I do not believe there was anything else. So we're going to do the outro now, so that's fun. So if you are just tuning in and you missed the start of the stream, OBS, that's right, behave. The Monday meeting notes are the best place to go for Onyx Path news. Hey, that's not the Scarlands link. And this week, obviously, it opens with the celebration of Independence Day, because these are written on a Monday evening, and today's Independence Day. Again, happy Independence Day to anyone who celebrates. I don't, for obvious reasons, but there we go. If you are a Fantasy Grounds user and you have any interest in Scarred Lands, I'm not going to include the link this time, because apparently my computer just really likes the link and doesn't want to get rid of it. But if you want to take advantage of the Steam Summer Sale, there is presumably a discount on Scarred Lands material for Fantasy Grounds. If you have hang on 1 second. While I get back to the right page. The next, one of the games that Onyx Path have coming up, The World Below, as a fantasy game using the story path system, has an Ashcan version, which are it's like the extremely simplified basic rule set. Provides a snippet of what you can expect without having the full game. That is available from Drive-Thru RPG at the link I just posted in the chat. It gives you some pre-generated characters, because it doesn't give you character creation rules, but it does give you everything you need to use those characters, including kind of what the different factions they belong to believe in, and things of that nature. So if you're interested in that, please do definitely check it out. Full disclosure, if you do struggle with themes of colonialism, they are touched on. So please bear that in mind. But it is a fantasy game. However, it is a fantasy game from Onyx Path Publishing, and it does deal very much with their usual themes of power has a cost. So if you like that kind of fantasy, check it out. If you are more of a physical person, there is a physical print-on-demand version in the works. Option in the works, sorry. If you swing by theonyxpath.com and check out some past blog posts, Matthew Dawkins has been writing a blog series on power. Okay, light flicker. A series of blog posts on the world below, and answering questions and teasing things and things of that nature. Speaking of the world below, this Thursday, July the 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern, there will be an Ashcan edition actual play featuring the material from the Ashcan. Don't know yet if it's going to feature the adventure in the Ashcan. That was run during Onyx Path Virtual Con, if anyone did see that, or if it'll be a new adventure of the GM of the story guide's creation. But if you are interested, please do consider swinging by. If you like Trinity Continuum, you can sign up for a notification about when the next crowdfunding campaign goes live over at the landing page. It is launching in 21 days, 3 hours, 16 minutes, etc., etc. For Trinity Continuum Aegis, which is kind of like classical Greco-Roman style storytelling, as you can probably tell from the Medusa on the image, with usual Trinity Continuum nonsense thrown on top. I like Trinity Continuum, so I say that from a place of love and respect. Again, this week's Pathcast talks about Exalted Essence and a review of Onyx Path Virtual Con on the channel. If you miss any of this or you want to see sweet promotional graphics, please do stick around for the post-roll. But all times in Eastern. Wednesday, 9 p.m, Sauron Origin, A Night at the Club. Thursday, 3 p.m, The World Below Ashcan Edition, as I mentioned. It's at that time because all of the players are European-based. Heck yes, go us Europeans. Saturday, 9 p.m, Changeling, The Lost of Eva, Lost to Vegas. Sunday, 3 p.m, Sauron Godsend Season Premiere. And Monday, 5 p.m, Sauron Demigod, The Beginner's Guide. To wrap up the week. Media highlight of the week is another episode from Asteronomus for Scion, the musical episode. Onyx Path News touched on the latest tasty bit for Scion the Village. On sale this week, Exalted Surface Truths, a Dragon Blooded novella from Lauren Roy. Onyx Path Game Night with Onyx Path Publishing at Start Playing. Games this month is featuring Trinity Continuum in celebration of the upcoming crowdfunding campaign, although you can play or run any game you wish. And then development status in red lines, Taste a Bit Sound Dragon Library, loads of colons there. In development, they came from Heroes of Action and Wonder. Taste a Bit, they came from Classified Hotel Lobby, Scion God Jumpstart. In manuscript approval, they came from the Cyclops' Cave, they came from Witchford Academy. That has 2 exclamation marks, one at the end of Cyclops' Cave and one at the end of Witchford Academy, and as a writer to that book, I can tell you it is well worth both exclamation marks. Post-editing development, we've got What Lies Forgotten novella, another Exalted book. Art direction, we've got Exalted 3rd edition, 8 directions. Trinity, they came from Cyclops' Cave and Classified, Trinity Continuum Aegis, Trinity Continuum Adventure Addendum. In layout, Mage 20, Lore of the Traditions, Legacies of the Earth, Exalted Essence novella, and Scion Once and Future. Proofing, we've got Exalted 3rd edition, Crucible of Legends, and Trinity Continuum Assassins VTT Adventure. And at press, Trinity Continuum Anima, Trinity Continuum Adventure book, story guide, screen, booklet. Exalted Essence, Werewolf 20th Apocalyptic Record, book, screen, booklet. And House of the Apocalypse, Hunt of the Vigil, Tending the Flame, Mage of the Awakening, Tomb of the Pentacle, The World Below Ashcan, obviously, press, and there is an errata period for that will be continuing for a bit longer, I believe. And Exalted 3rd Edition Surface Truths, the novella I mentioned. That is the abridged, much sped up version of the Monday meeting notes. If you have enjoyed the stream, but you've missed some of it. If you're not a subscriber to the Onyx Path Twitch channel, you will have to wait a week. After that week is up, so next Tuesday, you'll be able to watch this entire thing live. Nope. On video on demand. on Twitch until it is removed from Twitch's servers. Or if you swing by my YouTube channel, I don't have a fancy URL, but I believe I can't remember the Nightbot command, but I believe. Hang on, I typed in a URL. Let's see if it works. So that I can just copy paste it. Heck yeah, it worked. If you go to this very YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ComradeBubbles, that will take you to my YouTube channel where these videos go up after that week's exclusivity period has expired. They're all compiled into a playlist, they're all organised neatly for your viewing pleasure, and if you really wanted to, you could watch from the very beginning. You don't have to, but it would be nice. And obviously, as always, please do let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you think it's worth it, please do consider subscribing to me on YouTube. If you do have any comments, questions, or criticism, obviously, I will be around in the Twitch chat for a bit longer. The post roll will roll, but I hang around in case there's anything to follow up on. I am available on Twitter @ComradeBubbles. I do stream on Twitch as Comrade Bubbles, and if you click the @ComradeBubbles in the stream title, it will take you to my channel, I believe. Or it will take you to a link where you can get to my channel anyway. I will be streaming about 20 or so minutes after this stream. Just some video game stuff to wind down with and then hang out with my community. But I'm always happy to talk about role-playing stuff over there. If you do have any general system questions or things of that nature, Nightbot's been dropping the Discord link throughout the stream. If you swing by the official fan Discord, people there are quite friendly and usually happy to answer any questions that you may have. Hopefully, I will be back in 2 weeks' time with the next episode of the show. We'll simply continue. I'll talk about encounter building because that's what we'll have to be doing next. Because that's the only scene that is left, really. And then epilogue, I guess, and then I'll be going back through the document and elaborating slightly on the other scenes that didn't get included in the actual play for time purposes. But hopefully you can tune in for the show in 2 weeks' time. If you are not following the channel, please do consider following. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribing. Obviously, it helps Onyx Path out, and you get access to the videos a week before the public do. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link that to your Twitch account to get a Prime Gaming account. It's a lot of accounts. Which gives you 1 free subscription a month. It doesn't auto-renew, but it gives you the same benefits of a Tier 1 subscription, and it gives the channel the same benefits of a Tier 1 subscription, so no one loses out. I say free, obviously you've paid for your Amazon Prime account, but there we go. But I believe that covers everything that I wanted to, and indeed should, talk about. If you haven't checked out any of the material from the videos from Onyx Path VirtualCon, highly recommend it. The panels were interesting, the actual plays were entertaining, and I got to star in like 4 of them. So, go me. That was a very tiring weekend, but it was well worth it. And obviously the panels will tease upcoming products and projects and things of that nature. And there were reveals throughout. Some of the actual plays were for games that aren't out yet, when we were just using, the rules previews provided during Kickstarter campaigns and things of that nature. So it's a whole lot of fun was had by all, is what I'm trying to say. But hopefully you come back in 2 weeks' time. But in the meantime, please do stay safe. Please do stay healthy. Please do stay wholesome. And I'll see you around.